Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GothamChess Slow Run. In this series, I'm playing on an authorized account on chess.com. I started at 400 elo, and I'm going up the rating ladder, explaining my thought process every step of the way. This is episode number 7. But before we get into the games today, I'd like to provide some context for those that might watch in the future, and also those that are watching now. It's October 24th, 2025, and I've just woken up in a hotel room in California. And yesterday I attended the funeral of Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky, who tragically passed away just a few days ago. I've made a video reacting to the news, and I made a second one as almost a desperate plea for some form of justice in the world of chess. I will not be re-entering the subject. In this video, we will try to focus on the positives moving forward. But I just want to share my impression of yesterday's ceremony with all of you, because many of you knew Danya for his videos, for his commentary, for his live streams. And it was amazing that probably close to 300 people showed up, sharing stories of Danya in childhood, from college, from chess. And it was incredibly special to see that he left such a positive impression and touched so many lives. And all of the perception you might have of him in his videos is completely genuine and accurate, and it was beautiful, and I wanted to share that with all of you. And I would be remiss if I didn't add the fact that he did slow runs as his bread and butter. And people always used to say that they would graduate to his channel from, the Gotham Guess the Elo or Low Elo Chess or whatever they might watch. And people would watch our channels together for education, entertainment, and so on. And so anything in this video will be donated to a, charity of choosing. And I promise all of you that I will honor all of Danya's contributions and his legacy, not just in the form of scholarships or grants or initiatives like that or a memorial tournament, but hopefully some lasting, meaningful change in the world of chess. And that is the intro for this video. Let's get into the slow run, because I think that's what Danya would have wanted us to do. Play chess, analyze our games, and get better. We are grinding. All right. E4. We've played many, many different things. We've played Scandinavian, Caro-Kann, everything. Let's go back to the basics. Knight to f3, knight to c6. Let's see, bishop to c4. So I did play a game in the Traxler variation. TRAXLER, seeing my opponent go here. Now, I have talked about this in previous episodes, so I'm not going to harp on it for another 10 minutes. But basically, this is the Italian game. It targets the soft pawn, which is only protected by my king. And black generally has two responses here, bishop c5 and knight to f6. Knight to f6 blocks the queen's vision, and that allows this move. But if you just play bishop c5 first, everything is normal. This is one of the most common positions in all of chess. And now I will show you the way I like to play the Italian, which is, oh, no. That's the whole point of me putting the bishop on c5. You follow good principles and take free stuff in the opening, and you will be very, in very good shape. Now, the only thing you have to be worried about here is that guy, all right? There is this meme in chess, the bishop from Z97, the bishop just sees you from the other side of the board. And so this move, pawn to d4, oh my goodness, this is still, look at this. Relentless business, relentless. But you can just bring the queen back, protect, you can offer the queen trade. Let's see if my opponent, I should really just develop another piece, but when you lose a piece so quickly, you can't trade the queen. No, this is no good. Now you're just down a piece. It's move 6. It's move 6. You don't have a knight. Now, we should castle. We can castle this way. But this is a free pawn.
Generally, taking in the center is dangerous when your king is still in the center. But we traded the most powerful piece. Without the queen, we're not afraid of anything. We are partying. Now, you might want to go here. Because when the rook takes, you take the rook. No. 8 times, 9 times out of 10, giving away 2 pieces, knight and bishop, for rook and pawn is no good. Just go back. I expect this move with the bishop. I expect bishop g5. People really like to make aggressive moves. They like to... Yep. We are protected, so we don't care. In fact, I will push the bishop into taking the knight because we're winning. We have an extra knight. Guess what? I'm going to trade the light squared bishop too. You know, I'm going to absolutely trade the light squared bishop. Also, in this slow run, I have been teaching you that deep into the endgame, which we are kind of approaching, we are approaching an endgame. A lot of pieces have been traded. The king is happier in the center. Obviously, for now, you don't have to do that. Let's get all of our pieces out. I'm going to go challenge the bishop. I expect knight d5, by the way. Now, this is a good move. Very well spotted. What is that attacking? It's attacking this pawn and this pawn. We missed that. Oh, no, we missed it. Which pawn is better to protect? Of course, this one. The fork. So we can defend it by going here. We can defend it by moving the king closer. The best move here is to avoid any more nonsense with this knight. So even though we have to move our king, it's okay, because without the queen on the board, we're not afraid. If there was a queen and the queen was there, yeah, then we would be in severe trouble, but hopefully our queen would be around to defend us. I'm still going bishop here. This is my next move. I think actually I can't even pre-move. I don't have it enabled on this account, which is kind of funny. Yeah. So now we are just trading off pieces. I kind of expect this move, but we're winning. So if you trade everything, we're just going to win an endgame. You know, we're going to win because we have an extra piece compared to them. They hung a knight. Okay, let's attack the knight. It's going to go here. My opponent's pretty decent at, like, attacking stuff. Maybe they will go there. In which case, I will attack them with the pawn. And then I will take the knight. And then I will trade the rooks. It's a very normal sequence. Here, here, here. Okay, I can take the pawn. I can also take the knight. Everything is fine. Take the knight. Take the pawn. They're going to go here or here. We're going to immediately trade rooks. Pawn to f4 is also a good move. Trying to trade and... But 2 rooks against the king when I have all my other pieces? Not scary. The rooks are not scary. The king can escape the rooks very easily. King can move diagonally. Rooks can't. Okay, I expect my opponent to immediately take my rook. Yep. And now, in the endgame, you go to the second rank. You don't even think. You don't even think. Rook planted on the second rank of the opposition. Or 7th. Why? Look at this. That's where all the pawns are. You get there, you press down, you start eating. You start eating, you start getting the pawns in, the knight as well. The knight would like to come forward. It can't quite come forward, so it will have to go back first. King is safe. King can zigzag, right? The king can hide. They use the pawns a little bit as protection. Rook b1. All right, rook b1, rook b1. Ancient Gotham songs. Put the knight out to bring it this way. The best thing for white now will be to try to get rid of my rook, but it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. We can push our pawn. You have to focus on what's important in the endgame. For now, these pawns are not as important. All right, we're going to take, and now we will set a little trap. I think my opponent is going to go here. Rough. Yeah, a lot of mistakes. And just back rank mate. I mean, you can take, you can promote, but in the endgame, you have to look for back rank checkmate. And you know, a lot of you are going to watch this, and a lot of you are going to go, that's crazy. My opponents at 600 do not play like this. I don't know where you are hiring these people to play you in this slow run. Yes, they do. Some don't. Some don't. Some get stuck in this ELO vortex. But folks, I'm telling you, a lot of your opponents play like this. A lot of them. You're just not taking advantage. Now, let's talk about the Italian. This is the most common opening in chess. We've already faced it a few times. If the knight goes to the f6 square, the 2 knights, and the opponent tries to fried liver you with knight to g5, this only works because the queen cannot see the knight. Instead of that, this move is a little bit better Because what happens here is the queen does see that square. And if white does this, trying to go here, the inclusion of this one move gives you enough time to go knight to f6, knight to g5, and castle. And as I said, 2 pieces for the rook is better for the side with the 2 pieces. Knight takes, it goes from, look at this position, minus 0.4 black is slightly better because this plan is a waste of time. If you go all in, it goes up by 4 to 5x. Rook takes, bishop takes, king takes, minus 1.8. Black is much, much better because all you do now with black is you put the king right back to where he was, move this pawn up, move the bishop out, and you have 4 mobile, healthy, active pieces, whereas white has this guy. That's what white got. A rook stuck behind everybody, you know, stuck back there, not able to get out as easily. So the Italian is very well met like this. The way I like to play the Italian is I like to actually not castle the same side. When my opponent castles in the Italian game, and I'll show you this as we get better, is I like to go the opposite way. It's going to be very interesting. I'm show you how to play this when we get to like 14, 1500. It's really, really tricky because you can play pawn to h6, stopping all this business. White plays slowly, you play slowly, white plays slowly, and then before you know it, you start firing pawns forward. So, you know, white plays something like bishop to e3, and then you're developing your bishop, and then you're, you know, bringing the pawns forward and castling this way, and it can be very difficult to meet this attack with white. But okay, I mean, in this game, what can I say? Knight g5, we lost this immediately, and this would have been the only way to get a little bit tricky, attacking our bishop and attacking our queen, but you should already know that things have gone drastically, drastically wrong here, and you take this pawn, everybody's hanging. I mean, this is game over in 5 moves. I mean, some mistakes in chess can be completely devastating, and this is one of those. Okay, we haven't played d4 in a minute, but let's just keep going with pawn to e4, good principled play. E4, b6, okay? Look, you can play knight to f3, but if you can, on the first move, get away with not having your pawn challenged, you might as well put 2 pawns there. Now you have the whole center. You just gave us the entire center. Now it's our responsibility to hold the center together. The bishop attacks the pawn. You can defend this pawn. A lot of people don't even realize this. A lot of people autopilot. Knight f3. You can defend this pawn with the knight, with the knight, with the pawn, with the bishop. The most common way to defend this pawn is with the knight. And now what black does is they spot this, and they go here to try to pin the knight. Yeah, my opponent's actually playing something I recommend. Maybe they even learned this from me. The amazing thing about the slow run is I could be playing people who have learned this stuff from me, which is very funny. So now we will play 2 knights, and here comes the bishop. Very tricky thing. A lot of people blunder. Yep. So here are the threats. The first threat is just to take this pawn, because we are, and I've taught many people this opening, e6, b6 setup. You are trying to take this because of the pin, but also you're trying to take this and then take this. So many people here, they go here, they think, oh, I solved the problem. No, the problem is this pawn. So let's defend the pawn. The pawn needs to be protected. We cannot put the bishop out as actively as we would like. The best move here for black is to play knight f6. This is the best move. But we'll see what black does. How well do they know they're opening? We can defend this pawn even further, or we can push it. We can push the pawn, but let's see. And next, yes, I would like to... Okay, this is a little passive, right? That move doesn't put pressure on our center. So now you have many choices. The most natural move here by far is simply castling. I love if you're thinking that way. Another move is, well, let's get rid of the bishop. I love if you're thinking that way. Intermediate players should probably go here. Why? Because having 2 bishops is good. We see the power of the bishop pair. But okay, let's castle. Let's just castle. This pin is nice, but you then have to think like, what if I get attacked? Okay, I'll go here. All right. Now, before we do anything else, let's figure this. Yeah, let's get rid of this situation. Okay, let's get rid of this situation. The bishop has no moves. If it goes here, I trap it. If it goes here, I trap it. It has to take the knight. If it takes the knight, we have the drawback of having a doubled pawn, but our center is very strong, and we have the only dark squared bishop remaining. Okay. Yeah, see, this is the problem with playing an opening which you then don't quite understand the positives and negatives of. The negative of this opening for black is you surrender the center completely, but you try to attack it from a distance. But if you let me have the center, and you let me have time, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. My opponent is inviting me to chat. Maybe they're going to see my profile and be like, oh, it's crazy, I'm playing you. All right? But now I go here. Sometimes I accept these because I think it's fun. I'm accepting. Oh, my opponent said hi, YouTube. That's very funny. I'm going to say hi to you too. Okay. Generally, the chat on chess.com is a treacherous place. It's just as bad as any chat in any video game. All right? And it's very one-on-one, and people get very mad about their chess. But hopefully my opponent is a good sport about it. I think people generally are. Plus, when you know you're playing me or something like that, you play worse. It's very normal. It's very, very normal. Okay. We can take the knight, and then we can take the bishop, or we can just take the bishop. I don't think it really matters. Let's just take the knight. The bishop's not going anywhere. Right? We didn't need to move this because it was protected. Now we take. And so now you can win this game in emphatic fashion. There is a tactical pattern here that is existing, known as the Greek gift sacrifice. The Greek gift sacrifice is a situation where a bishop bulldozes the king's position. Bishop takes. 3 things have to happen. Number 1, only the king is protecting that pawn. Number 2, your knight needs to be able to jump to g5. Number 3, your queen needs to come next. The knight can jump there. It is protected. The queen can come forward as well. So, Greek gift sacrifice. Now, the best way to defend this is you can sometimes just avoid it entirely, but you should actually run forward. There are much better defensive possibilities than going backwards. If you try to run back, the queen absolutely viciously rushes in. And so this needs to all take place for you to get this. Last thing is there needs to be no way to protect h7. So you got your knight and your queen, and you did this all tactically, forcefully. You kind of kick the door down. But there are very rare moments where from the other side or one of these pieces can come and make sure h7 is defended. In this case, the queen, the knight, the bishop, everybody's sort of stuck. And, right, this is all coming in. Now, again, I am hiding usernames on the slow run. I didn't want people to get bothered. You know, people get featured in videos, then suddenly people start messaging them and talking to them and insulting them and, oh, you lost or whatever. But listen, I'm 3,000 rated player. Like, in bullet. Queen takes. Actually, completely reasonable way to defend. I will take with the bishop. And so now the queen and the bishop together can probably get to the king. Well, if you do that, you know, again, right now your pawns are doing a nice job sealing off the entry. But if you do this, it's going to be really tough to defend your king. It was a little bit of a short-sighted attack, but also, again, granted, my opponent knows they're playing me, and they are not going to be playing particularly well. And now we see how just the queen and the bishop together on the color complex seal the deal. Look at this pawn wall getting in the way of my opponent's pieces. Triple isolated pawn. I mean, it looks cool, it looks funny, but and this is just mate. There is absolutely no way to stop it. And yeah, Greek gift is a very unique pattern. It's something, you know, it's something you can, I'm going to tell this person, this will be episode 7. I will analyze the game in full. Hopefully they're still in the chat. So, my opponent played my opening. I actually really like this opening for black. It's very tricky, but you have to understand what you are doing. Okay, I guess my opponent said GG and just kind of left, which is a little sad. But well, hopefully they spot this game. When you play like this with black, you have to understand that you are targeting the center of the opponent without actually putting any pawns there. But when you are playing with white, having the center, having good support means these pawns can go forward at a moment's notice. And so black needs to be very, very precise with the way they play this. You need to be committal. So knight there, knight to e7 was a reasonable move. The best move is knight immediately attacking the center. In fact, it's so good to attack the center, you can jump into the center with a king here. This is the entire idea. But when you do this, and I castle, and you castle, right? You have to take, and now you have to fight back against the center. So the knight is here, the pawn is here, the rook is here, pawn to f5 is a very nice move. It's kind of a flank attack toward the center of the board. Now I have a difficult decision. If I take this pawn, I open your bishop, I open your rook, and I help your knight get into the game. This is a game. This is a game and a half. This is very complicated. I can also close the center, but then you can strike at the center from the other side, and then you can get your knight out, and so on. So when you play passively, when you do this, you are fighting against pawns with pieces. It's never going to work. Pawns are less valuable. They are worth 1 point. There's 8 of them. You only have 2 bishops. I go here, your bishop is trapped. And the way you avoid these types of things is make sure your bishops and knights don't stand in a congested area. They need space behind. They need space forward. When you're noticing you are running out of air, you gotta make the trade. It's not the dream scenario, but you have to make the trade. Otherwise, you simply get suffocated. And this, right, and this is just losing because, yeah, I can play this slowly. I can develop my bishop. I can target the pawn. I can bring the rook. Look at this open space for the rook. I can bring the queen. But if the pawn is only protected by the king, if the knight can go to g5 and has enough protection, if the queen can come zip out as well, there is a Greek gift. And the next reason, the next thing is that square has to be just queen and knight together. And that's what I did. Bishop h7 is a haymaker. The king probably should run forward. If it runs forward, and here it's in the line of the bishop. So I would have double check. Nice tactic. You can't take the knight. The bishop is also attacking the king, and then I would win the queen. Here, you can play check. You can also bring the queen here. And it's just a matter of time. The queen's hanging. It's just a matter of time before you get to this king. And king runs. Queen d6 is mate. Look at this position. It's crazy. Everything is covered. Every single square is covered. Greek gives sacrifice. We are getting to the tactical portion of the slow run. Let's keep rolling along. These are instructive games. Did I update my win? I cannot remember. I don't think I did. I don't think I did. Okay, let's update it, and if anything, I just change it at the end of the... E4, E5. Maybe we'll get another Italian. Another Italian. Maybe a proper Italian this time. Okay, we face the Scotch opening. Now, you should take the pawn, because that's the whole reason you went here. So let's take. Let's take. I wonder what my opponent is thinking about. Okay, they take. Now, this is the part that's going to be a little confusing. You don't need to take this, because you are helping the opponent develop pieces. But let's say you don't know that. Let's say you're like, fair trade. This is actually the most common thing that happens, by the way. And now let's say you're like, okay, so I traded. Now I'm going to develop. I'm going to develop my pieces. I'm going to develop my knight and my bishop and so on. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to play a bad move here. Play knight to f6. Unfortunately, because you never put a pawn in the center, white can just immediately start striking the center. Now, I'm playing not great moves, but attacking with the queen alone can't be so great because this is just going to help us develop. You don't want to help your opponent develop their pieces. Now it's very normal that white goes here. We castle, they take, we take, they move the queen, we take this, and we win a rook. It's actually very likely to happen. Because people say, I gotta get here, I gotta keep attacking. Okay, so I can take the pawn and attack the queen, but I can also just castle. I just castle. And they might go here. Okay, now they play e5. Okay. Knight is hanging. This attacks the queen. A lot of people would play this move. This also it gets out of danger, but it doesn't attack the queen, and obviously we can be very passive. We can also attack the queen on the edge of the board. Most people would go here. Attacking the queen like this. The queen should now move and counterattack our knight. It goes to h3. Now, we've had a position already where the bishop down here can spot the queen. Let's see if we get that. I offer a trade of pawns. Will my opponent see the bishop from a distance? I think based on the time spent, yes. Yes. Good move. Now, queen is here. Maybe I can take the pawn. Okay. Oh. Very tricky. My knight is hanging. What do we know? We can move our knight. We can defend our knight with a pawn or with a queen. Not with the bishop because they would take it. But behind our knight is this pawn. And it's the same exact thing we just did to somebody. We took with the bishop. It was a Greek gift. But in this case, my opponent is seeing the queen and the bishop working together for a checkmate. Now, if I go back to the f6 square, I not only defend the mate, I also attack the queen. So knight f6 is a totally reasonable move. Now, we do have a check of our own, but I really wouldn't play with fire here. I mean, you are very close to getting burned in this position. So rather than doing that, let's come up with something a little bit more solid. I think going back is a completely reasonable move. This pawn could have been taken last turn as well. And if it does get taken, I will show how to deal with it. My opponent might also not even realize this is happening, but they're quite strong, so far they've been quite good. This is bad for white because the queen and the king are in the center of the board together. That's why this is bad for white. Right away, my alarm bells are thinking, hey, can't I pin the queen to the king? I'm not afraid at all. If the king was castled, it would be a different story. But with the king in the center, I'm immediately getting ideas like this. So now, very instructive moment. What to do? If I sneakily play this move, guess what white is going to do? Castle. So how do I keep the king from castling right now? Well, I can attack the queen, but then the queen gets out. But what if I give this check now? On this move. If I give this check now, the queen and the king stay in the center, unless the king decides not to castle. Well, if the king decides not to castle, I'm going to be very happy. And this is exactly my point. First of all, this blunders a bishop. I immediately spotted this. That's not the best move because queen and king are in the middle. My opponent thought, I'm attacking the bishop, it has to move. But they forgot. Queen and king are in the same line. So you need to look for the most forcing move first. And some of you might say, Levy, didn't you say 2 moves ago this check was stupid? Completely different situation. Completely different situation. You are all thinking about the move bishop b4 check, but it's a totally different position. You know, totally different position. Completely different situation. The previous position with the bishop on d3, this check, there was no queen here. My knight was hanging. This, nothing is hanging. I have the move. I have the move. And since my idea was to keep the queen and king in the center, white just loses right away. And this is why you shouldn't bring your queen out like 7 moves in the opening, and you should castle. My opponent tried to mate me. They made 1 queen move 2, queen move 3, queen move 4, 5, 6 in the first 12. I made 0. I made 0. And by the way, look at this. I made 0 queen moves, and my queen is still part of the game because I opened the center. I played in the center. I developed my pieces, principled. And because of that, my queen is actually powerful despite having never moved. My opponent moved the queen 6 times, and now they're going to lose it. And that shows you how you have to balance the usage of your pieces. And my opponent's sitting there going, what the how did that happen, you know? But it's normal. I mean, this is extremely normal stuff. If you violate principles like this, this is what's going to happen. I hope my opponent doesn't just sit there and not move. But sometimes it happens. Sometimes we can analyze. The best way to play here, immediately punishing, like in the Vienna Gambit, pawns in the center are useful to directly attack knights, because that forces the opponent into a scramble. They're like, oh God, what do I do now? Which is why it's better not to take. Here it's better to develop, or develop. Better to leave this. Let them take us. So we take, and they lose time. Beginners don't know that. Beginners just snap, snap. And that's why here the best move is to prevent this and play pawn up first. Don't let them kick you out. These are little things you get better at. This is a bad move because white can go here, get the knight out, get the bishop out, get the other bishop out. They have an open game. Oh, what does open game mean? Well, it means the position is not locked. Okay, my opponent abandoned. Yes, very, very normal turn of events, of course. And again, I will remove a win if I turned out I was incorrect. But game over. 12 moves. Abandoned. They're going to lose their queen. They're going to lose everything. And had we played a little bit slower here, had we played something like bishop d6, it would have been okay. You know, my opponent would have went here, and then I would have given this check, but they would have blocked. And, you know, many people here, they lose the initiative. They lose the momentum. They play pawn here, the queen goes here, and maybe they go here, and then white castles, and the game proceeds. But in the opening, that was worse. Look, plus 1.6 for white. If white played the move pawn to e5. Now I would have been in a lot of trouble. I cannot go here, here, here. Here I would probably get trapped anyway. The only move here for black is either to try to counterattack or literally retreat, which is miserable, because then white develops. And then what do you even do here? You try to make a trade, white develops again. You take. They take with a bishop. Now you're like, oh, I get my knight back out. Look at the position. This is already red alert. Sound every alarm. I mean, you have nothing developed. You are multiple moves away from castling. And white here cannot let you castle. They play bishop c4, and you simply lose because the second rook is coming. Look at these cannons pointed at you. All because you lost a little bit of time in the opening, just a tiny bit. And this is the way you would lose this position. You know, you would play pawn here. White would take. You would take attacking the queen. White would give you check. Suddenly you're like, okay. And now they play queen d5. They threaten checkmate. You go queen d7, defending checkmate. They go knight e4. And just every move is a punch to the stomach. This rook cannot move. This rook cannot move. The bishop cannot move. You're playing the game without more than half of your pieces. And this is the way games are lost. So when you get faced, when you face the Scotch opening, you should take, but here you should develop something. You should develop the bishop, you should develop the knight, and then you should castle, just like always. Against this move, it's normal they take, and if they attack you, Okay, it's not a problem. At least you just move the knight. If they attack you again, you move the knight. And then you develop, you can castle, you can crack this pawn with this. But the difference is here, there is no move the knight. You have no move. You have to go back. When you cannot put the knight forward, you have to go back. And queen e5 loses all advantage. All. Because you helped me develop. I could have traded the queens too. I could have played queen there. But here, too many moves. Now black is better. Here, the way to justify this would be to try to, you know, go for some sort of checkmate. But this is not a good move. It's not a good move because I can move my knight. I can move my knight. It doesn't even... I mean, knight h5 is not a good move, but it's not a good move because the knight is on the outskirts of the board. Outskirts of the board, generally bad idea. You only have one... You're not going to go that way. Can't glitch off the map, right? So this is the way it works. So you have to go knight here, attacking the queen, or knight here, which would run into, you know, there would be some problems here for you. You would need to not get checkmated, which would result in you losing a rook. But the game would go on. But yes, we have to go here or here to defend. My opponent should have probably made a queen move like queen f4. Here we should protect the knight, but maybe if we didn't, you know, the game would go on. But none of that even happened because my opponent moved the queen too many times. Here we had to be a little careful. Knight to f6. But bishop before rook e8. Very clean. Punishing the mistakes. Let's play a couple more. I feel like we're going pretty good pace. Playing pretty fast. e3. Okay. All right. Take the center. Maybe queen h5 is... I'm a soul reader. Okay. Don't panic. Bishop c4, 2 pawns in the center. Yes. 2 pawns in the center. I mean, they're helping us. They're helping us. They're helping us, right? Now, similar concept. Knight, king, queen hits the pawn. Just slow down. Just relax. Queen is attacking the pawn. So before you start punishing, secure your position. Secure the 2 pawns in the center. Now, this is hitting here. This is pinned. Okay, fine. But the next move is knight f6. Next move is knight f6. Once you get good at dealing with this BS, you gain 200 points. Now, a lot of you go c4. I can take. What? Hold up. This is just a pawn. This is a freaking queen. Let's develop and attack the queen. Let's get another piece into the game and let's castle. Let's get out of it. Let's get out of the middle. I expect an aggressive player to do this. Keep attacking. Okay, by the way, you know, you can keep swarming this piece. You can play bishop g4. But let's say you forget and you blunder this pawn. The pawn is gone. Oh no, what have we done? What have we done? Oh, we're so stupid. Oh my God, we can't take. We're so stupid. No, you played good principal chess. So knight is hanging. We cannot take. By the way, equal or exceeding danger. Maybe e4 is a good move, but let's just go here. And you are about to witness. We have a lot of threats. First of all, we are threatening this, just to take the pawn back. Second of all, we're threatening knight c2 check. Fork. When you play good principal chess, your position is always resilient. I have no idea how white is even supposed to stop this. Okay, they play bishop here. But this actually runs into something even more vicious. And I'm going to be ruthless. We're not going to play this. This move stops this. But it used to defend this. Now we jump in. Second time. We actually had this a few games ago. I'm going to pull up the game. So look, they defend their bishop. Queen, king. Last game, straight line. This game, diagonal. Who attacks on the diagonal? Kaboom. Game over. We hung a pawn. Look at this. You move the queen too much. You negate your development. This is what happens. This is the secret sauce. Right here. I mean, and by the way, it was already bad. If white went here or here, they were losing the queen. And if they went here, they were losing the bishop. It was all bad. It was all over. Now my opponent's sitting there going, am I playing a cheater or something, right? By the way, it's about to get a whole lot worse. It's about to get a whole lot worse. I'm going to take the queen, and then I'm going to take the pawn. I'm going to fork the king and the rook. Look, I take the queen. Now I take the pawn, and I get the rook as well. I just won 15 points of material. I guess I lost my bishop. All because bad principles were employed. Knight to h4, aggressive. Now, okay, we look around. We can take this pawn. This actually activates our queen. Well, we take. Now we have the queen, and it's a very different situation. And there you go. And there you go. And there you go. And maybe I'll even play one more, right? Because we are going to get out of 700-800 and these 600-700. These games are going to become a lot less frequent. These queen attacks, you know, and there are different types of queen attacks. You know, there's the queen attacks where they just target this pawn. Don't fall for this trap. Just stick to good principles. Stick to good principles. They might attack you with a knight. Fine. Right? But they went here. So they're going here. Can we put 2 pawns in the center? Flowchart. Yes, of course. 2 pawns in the center, defended. Usually the pawn is on that square, not letting us put 2 pawns in the center. But in this case, we can. Usually the pawn is on e4, which doesn't let that happen. And now my opponent went here. And so many of you would have just very quickly gone knight to f6, forgetting that you are pinned. Same exact tactical pattern as we had in the game where we had white. Look at this game. Same pattern, knight pinned to the king, pawn in the center, right? Knight pinned to the king, pawn in the center. Knight pinned to the king, pawn in the center, just different color. And don't take, you don't have to, go for the queen. Here, we could have, but I said, let's castle. Could we have attacked the bishop? Yeah, for sure. Of course we could have attacked the bishop. But, and this position is -3.5. But you mentally could be like, oh my gosh, I lost the pawn. No. Knight b4, and you have all of the tools you need to immediately launch a counterattack. White is not playing principal chess, which means you're always, always, always close to striking back in emphatic fashion, you know? And there you go. There you go. Okay, one more. Having fun. Let's go e4, good principles. d6. Can we put 2 pawns in the center? Yep. Whoa. Okay. So if we take, they take, then our queens see each other. Okay. We can also develop the knight. Well, let's take. And let's trade the queen. I mean, this is all part of my opponent's plan, clearly. Or maybe they're just, I don't know, playing fast. And so we have no queen. All right, let's develop a knight. What? And now I'm going here. What are we doing? Oh my goodness, we're defending with the king. Now a lot of you would be tempted. Check. Then you just walk directly into a fork. Why do that? Have we developed the other knight yet? No. We developed the other knight. Bishop here. What does it see? This pawn. Is it protected? Yes. Okay. So let's develop our bishop. We are targeting the soft pawn. The pawn only protected by the king. You know what a lot of people do here? Play f6. Attack the knight. Forget that we're going there anyway. They don't realize it's not just about the pawn. Oh. No, but this was my idea to... Oh, no. No. Wow, king c5. What on earth? Okay, so we can take the rook, but let's not forget that the king is an active piece. So maybe we... I mean, if the king gets this far, I really feel like we can checkmate the king. So let's let the king take our bishop. And now I would love to give a check, but then they're going to take our knight. So let's just be a little patient. Let's just be a little patient. Maybe black is going to play bishop to b4. Okay. The king has no way back. So how do we weave a checkmate net? I mean, I would love to give this check, but then the king is going to take the knight. Maybe we castle longside. We try to bring the rook. That doesn't look bad to me. I think my opponent's going to go here. Opponent clearly likes to do this fancy bishop stuff. Knight a6. This almost looks like checkmate. But the king would go king c5, which is annoying. I can bring my knight back and try to checkmate the king. With something like this, it's a very delicate process. You have to really slowly make sure everything is standing on a proper square. Let's bring the knight back and let's try to mate with the knight. My opponent actually might come aggressive and just get checkmated. Okay, bishop here, fine. We have check, take, and maybe we weave the net like this. I mean, it's very close. It's unfortunately we can't play here, but we're still looking. I wish we just had like a super quick win. Maybe we can block the bishop. But this is actually a super easy way to lose with white, because what happens with white is you just get annoyed. And then you tilt. And you're like, how is there no checkmate? You know? Okay, the game just got abandoned. This is weird episode. Yeah, these 600s today were going a little crazy. I mean, some of these games are 3 minutes long. I mean, there's not much I can do. The real lesson here, all right, the real lesson here is you cannot play these two moves if then you are going to lose the pawn. Like, come on. This was fine. Like, this is okay. You know, white can develop. This is the best move is probably just to develop. By the way, the computer is not even a fan of trading. It doesn't like this position. It doesn't like this position. But it's not afraid, all right? It's not worried. And the best move is just to develop the knight and keep developing. By doing this, it thinks that we're giving a little bit too much to black. But to lose this pawn, and then I just develop, and then we blunder this, and it's mate. By the way, it's mate in 6 here. You can play bishop check, king takes, knight back, check, here, b4, king a6, b5, knight c4 mate. But somehow I kind of doubt that would have been spotted. So look, even at 600, one movers in the opening and not following good principles can lead you to very, very chaotic and disastrous positions in the first 10 moves. Today we learned how to punish the queen stuff. We learned, again, 2 pawns, knights, and bishops, and what happens if they give us the center, what happens if they don't give us the center. But so many games are still getting decided by 1 to 2 move blunders in the beginning of the game. And if they're not blundering, they're setting themselves up for failure in violation of certain principles, okay? We have yet to get a game that was relatively normal and straightforward in the first 10 moves. People are still hunting with the queen all the time. They're still blundering. They're not, they're leaving their king out in the open. They're giving away pawns, knights, etc. You are totally capable of this. You are totally capable of breaking out and crossing the rating threshold. That's all I have for you today. If you enjoy the way I explain things, as always, check out Chessly, check out the Vienna there, check out my other openings, and all the middle game, end game courses we have there as well, and get out of here.